Oh, hi there, guys. So there was news this week from Kent Council of a new Reform councillor there, Paul Webb, making a big play of an issue related to a transgender related book at a local library, which had been raised by a local resident. So before I show you what Paul had to say, I'd be extremely grateful if you could subscribe to the channel for daily analysis of politics and the economy. And please do like the video if you find what I talk about interesting at all. So let's have a look at what Paul has to say here.
Good evening, everybody. Paul Webb here, Reform UK Cabinet Member for Communities and Regulatory Services at Kent County Council. I was recently contacted by a concerned member of the public who found trans-ideological material and books in the children's section of one of our libraries. I've looked into this and this was the case. I've today issued instruction for them all to be removed from the children's section of any of our libraries. They do not belong in the children's section of our libraries. Our children do not need to be told they were born in the wrong bodies. So from today, this will stop. Thank you very much.
So it seems like there was a bit of confusion about what actually happened. But according to a statement on KCC's website, which you can read via the BBC here, it seems that the book in question was actually in a welcome display at the front of the library, so not specifically in the children's section. But in any case, I don't want to focus too much on the specifics of that book or even this particular issue. I just wanted to think more widely about what this tells us about politics at the local level and what it means to represent your constituents if you are a politician at the local level. So in Kent, there are around 17,600 trans or non-binary people. So what is the message that they've received via Paul's ostentatious display of anti-trans hatred? Now, we know Reform UK are pushing hard on these culture war issues. They've had a big focus on flags and on DEI training in their first couple of months since the local elections. But what does all that rhetoric mean in practice? So Phil from A Different Bias, another YouTube channel, he did a really good video on this recently. So he made the point in that video that councils flying pride flags, it's not some sort of woke conspiracy. It is about telling LGBTQ people that they are welcome and that they're in the council's mind's eye. Now, the reality is that if LGBTQ people were respected and treated equally, then there wouldn't be any need for the flags in the first place or any other form of affirmative action, to use the American phrase. So let's have a look at how this plays out from this point on. So what if a trans person in Paul's constituency needs his help with an issue around their bin collection or some other practical issue? Do you think they're likely to approach him in good faith and feel that he's got their interests at heart? Would they even feel safe to approach him? And then that goes to a wider point about what people see politics as being for. Do elected representatives see it just as a zero-sum game where one person's rights can't coexist if another person has the same rights? And similarly, are they always in campaign mode where they're seeking to divide people for electoral gain? Or should politics be about bringing people together, representing everyone in your constituency to the best of your ability? On a personal level, I find it quite sad that as a newly elected councillor, this guy feels the need to do this. Just on a human level, did he go into politics to be this divisive and to do this sort of stuff? And if so, why? What's the hatred that is eating him up? I suppose, that ultimately these are just philosophical questions about the nature of representative democracy. But it's worth thinking about this stuff because, in 4 years' time, we might have a reform government. And if this is how they're going to govern, it's going to be extremely bleak, not just for trans people or any other minority group, but for everybody. Because I think ultimately, when you take this sort of approach, there's a fundamental lack of respect, both for yourself and for other people. I think ultimately it's going to reflect very badly on us as a country if we do go down this road, or even further down this road, I should say. And it's ultimately going to make everyone more miserable than they are already. It's a bit of a bleak one today, guys. Sorry about that. But thanks a lot for watching and catch up again soon. Thanks.